I was informed, brothers and sisters, that covenanted members may remove your mantles and veils now as you proceed for the rest of the day. Again, a pleasant good morning to all of you. I hope hindi kayo nagulat na inuna nila ako ngayon. Ako'y nagulat. We were trying to replicate the order of the talks. Originally, I would come up last. We were originally doing it holiness first, unity, spiritual warfare, then mission. But nonetheless, I'm glad to start off. And again, my objective is really to share with you some of the things that are part of my reflections and the inputs of the leadership as far as the mission that we've been hearing from the Lord. And I think you all agree with me that ever since that prophetic banner came out, 2016, banner of more sacrifice and courage for a mission greater than us, it really captured the attention of many of us, both leaders and members. And I understand many retreats, many reflections, many gatherings have been focused and centered on that theme, all in the effort of really trying to understand what the Lord is saying to us. So in 2017, as districts and sectors were planning for the year, they really incorporated this word and continued to listen to what the Lord was trying to say. And as Chito mentioned in the introduction, like all of the prophetic words we receive, we really take this seriously and we continue to reflect on it, and we ask the Lord, Lord, what did He really want us to do? What does this mean for us? And these words become much clearer to us in the context of other important things that we've been hearing or we've heard from the Lord. Ever since the 40th anniversary, we've been hearing about our call, our call that we have been built for more from the Lord. Then the call to expand our hearts, our reach and mission. And now the word more sacrifice and courage for a mission greater than us. I remember hearing a reflection, and not just from one person but others, the word, just to reflect on that phrase, more sacrifice and courage. Sa more pa lang daw, napapatigil na sila. More, After 40 years or 41 years, hindi ba ang dami na nating ginagawa? O hindi ba ang dami nating ginawa? Bakit more pa? Ano pa ba, Panginoon, ang pwede namin gawin? So really, together, we continue to ask, what is it, Lord, you're saying to us about this mission that is greater than us? What do you really mean? Has the mission changed? What do we need to understand further? And I think the way to answer this question is to briefly revisit and fully understand what it is that we already know about our call and our mission. So what I want to do now is just to briefly revisit our mission with all of us. We call ourselves a community of disciples in mission, really, which translates to what we're called to be and what we're called to do. And I think many of us who've been around for a while do know that there are many things God has called us to do to fulfill our mission. We've been called to proclaim the good news. We do this in our work of evangelization, in the various outreaches and ministry we have. We've been called to gather people together, to be joined with one another in love and support. We do this to our community and building other communities all across Asia as we could, and also especially in our country. We do this also to the movements that we founded and we continue to spread. Hopefully we serve as a leaven, an influence in society as we exhibit our lives in righteousness and we become light in our environments. And where necessary, we're called to defend the Christian truth and morality both in church and society. So these are the things that we do day in and day out. We're asked to do to fulfill this important mission that we've been called to accomplish. But equally important is really what we've been called to be as a community. And I think it's been said to the introductions earlier that we've been called to be a people joined together in covenant love. We've been called to be committed with one another, committed relationships. And through that we become a bulwark. a source of defense and refuge for many. We know that. We're also called to be a prophetic people, that through the radical Christian lives, we become strong witnesses for Jesus. Because we just don't want to be ordinary followers for Jesus, but really radical followers of the Lord. And we intend to be a servant people that will serve the church and society to stand up for Christ's righteousness and holiness. So brothers and sisters, in other words, living our way of life is not separate from our mission, but in fact is very much a part of it. And community life, in fact, many times become our strongest witness in our work of evangelization and community building. We always try to invite people and say to them, come and see, because minsan di natin mapaliwanag what we're all about. And hopefully the response we get as they experience us is similar to the response in the Acts of the Apostles. See how they love and serve one another. Given this backdrop, again we continue to ask, Lord, where are you leading us? We know that. We know that we're called to proclaim, to gather, to be your servant people, to be a prophetic people. Pero saan niyo po kami dinadala at this time? And brothers and sisters, I just go through some mission expressions that are slowly sprouting and coming out outside of what we are normally doing today. So the things that I'll be enumerating ay yung mga bagong nakikita natin outside of pathways, outside of CYA and Lingkod, and the other outreaches that we are helping. More and more we're sensing a growing call to reach out to areas and peoples we've never reached out before. Last year in the same conference, I talked to you about what we've heard from the Lord in our planning in the next 3 to 5 years. That there's a growing sense to help and serve the wider church, especially the training of lay leaders through LICO or the National Catholic Charismatic Renewal. Through our brother June Cruz, we began to influence the programs and strategic direction of LICO. Whether it's running the celebration of the annual National Laity Week or Year of the Family, we're trying to share experience and provide the help and assistance in strengthening the role of the laity in serving the church. Ilang beses ko pong nakita si June paano mag-serve sa simbahan dito po sa LICO. At hindi po madali yung kanyang kalagayan in the sense that siya yung pinakabata dun sa team, dun sa board. At hindi na rin basta-bastang itutulak yung mga ideas niya and the things that he wants represented. But karamihan, and kinukwento niya sa akin to, because he's been asked to share the ideas that he has relative to his experience here in Ligaya, siya ang na-assign sa mga events. Parang sa Ligaya, di ba? Pag nagsalita ka, ikaw ma-assign, di ba? Pero ganun po. At it's a different institution out there, but we're trying to help. We're trying to influence as much as we could, as much as what the Lord allows us through our brother June Cruz. At hindi lang po siya dapat nag-iisa. Sabi niya nga, ang trabaho niya ay maglako ng ating serbisyo. So he's been promoting what we can do, what we're capable of doing. So don't be surprised, from time to time he will, at kiniklear naman niya sa leadership, no? So hindi naman siya basta kakatok sa inyo, come with me and go to the parishes or go to the different institutions. He clears it out with the leadership, but don't be surprised if one of these days he knocks on your door and seeks for help as we continue to serve the wider church. In the Philippine Catholic Charismatic Renewal Service, Ligaya has also influenced the main thrust of the whole renewal in working and revitalizing the BECs, or what they call the basic ecclesiastical communities, especially as we approach in the year of the parish. In fact, regional conferences are already lined up with the theme, the Catholic Charismatic Renewal in Building BECs, forming communities of missionary disciples. Hulaan niyo kung ganino galing yung word na yun. Siyempre kay June Cruz, di ba? So yun po, sa simbahan, marami tayong nakikita at maraming pang opportunities ahead of us. There are also new opportunities that contribute to the work for stronger marriages. Again, last year in the conference, I mentioned to you a new strategy being done by districts and sectors as regards to doing a pre-Cana type preparation for engaged couples or even for newly married couples. Other sectors call it 10 weeks to a better marriage. Others call it a blueprint for married life. In the South, they called it Marriage and Family Life Enrichment Seminar. And this has been growing very well and has been received very well by parishes, by different brothers and sisters, different young men and women, young couples. And I really think that we can really take this a step further. It's really an opportunity to use this as a service, a possible service to the church or to different parishes. Public schools is an area that we've never visited before or never done before. But guess what? Our young people in CYA have been given opportunities to enter public schools and provide values and moral seminar to high school students. They've already done 2 in the last quarter of 2016. One in Esteban Abada High School in Manila and another in Ramon Magsaysay High School for their 10th grade students. This seminar actually has been included in their performance assessment, and they're thankful for the experience working with us. In fact, they're pushing for continued partnership with CYA, and they intend to include this proposal in the future. This March, our brothers and sisters in CYA are scheduled to do another one for VMAPA High School. And we believe that more and more of this are going to be opening up as we try to contribute to the Archdiocese. But what are about other mission or service opportunities? Meron pa po na hindi pa natin nabibigyan ng atensyon. On the subject of community building, our work of community building in the Sword of the Spirit, I think we have already communities either formed or being formed in many key cities of Mindanao. We've got one in CDO, the Light of the World, in Davao, Holy Trinity Community, in Malaybalay, we've got Ambuing Pulong, and in the north of Luzon, we've got Balin ng Ginoo in Angeles City, and recently I think there's a group in Lucena in South Luzon. Ang tanong bakit wala tayo sa Visayas? Now, we are in Luzon, we are in Mindanao. We have yet to have a key covenant community in Visayas. What's different with the Cebuanos? Mahirap ba evangelize in mga Cebuano? No? What can we do? And really, this is a subject that Ali and I have been talking about recently. And really, it's in an investment probably that's long overdue. And of course, we will pray about this. We need to pray more on saan ba, Lord, are you opening the doors or are you not? But one of the strategies of the Asian region is really to build communities and put ourselves in key cities. Now, they call it a spawner community where we can really spread ourselves more in areas where the people, young people especially, will stay and will build their families and will build their careers. How about Asia? Where is the Lord leading us in Asia? The Lord's promise in our founding prophecies, we are to be a light in Asia. And let's scope that further, Southeast Asia. Kami po na umattend minsan ng ICM or International Coordinators Meeting. Personally, ako minsan naiinggit sa iba-ibang regions because taon-taon na lang sa mga meetings or every time we have these kinds of meetings, ang representative sa Asia is just mainly the Filipinos and the Indians. No? But we know that Asia is much bigger than that. And Southeast Asia, we know that there's some preliminary work being done in Malaysia. Some of our brothers, younger brothers and sisters have been visiting. In fact, we've sent mission trips of young people, young adults even, and college students there. But let's pray for that, brothers and sisters. Where is the Lord leading us there? Again, in the subject of serving the church, parishes where we have key allies. In the person of the parish priest there, we've got 2. Father Dave now is a parish priest, and Father Alex Nolasco in Quezon City. In working with the parishes, we've begun building relationships with these priests, especially Father Alex, discussing strategies and approaches on how Ligaya members in this area can help in setting up disciple-making processes to move the parishes from maintenance to mission mode. I believe there are opportunities that await us to serve the church in making the sacraments more real and have more meaning among our Catholic brethren. A few months ago, may pinakitang libro sa akin si June Cruz. Sabi niya that he's been promoting and distributing to many parish priests, and I think the title is something to do with spiritual renovation, and written by a Father Maloney from Canada. And I was intrigued by that, and I learned that si Kuya Vic has already had a copy of that, and in fact read it. So I borrowed it. And as I was reading it, he was also sending me notes, and I was just struck about, the point of view given by Father Maloney in terms of just opportunities na pwedeng gawin natin in terms of serving the wider church. We always say that the Catholic Church is sacramentalized but not evangelized. Many of our people, ordinary Catholics, bring their children for baptism, bring their children for confirmation. And alam natin na may requirements behind that you're supposed to bring up your children in the knowledge of Christ, to be able to be the first place for catechism. But you and I know that many of our families are not in a position to give that. And in fact, in confirmation, even in baptism, there's really a seminar that the priest asks whether we are committed and we're ready to give Christian instruction to these children. And many of the parents, of course, say yes, but in actual reality, hindi nangyayari yun. But could it be that there's an opportunity for us to provide these kinds of services to the parish church? Could it be that the little we know or the more that we know, we can lend a helping hand? So again, an opportunity na kailangan natin pagdasal. Kaya nga this late February, June will bring the CBCP Executive Secretary for BEC in anticipation of the Year of the Parish to speak and orient the leaders of the Federation of Transparochial Charismatic Communities on how to go down to the parishes and help build the BECs. Again, along the lines of serving the church, born out of ideas of serving and equipping leaders out there, there's a new concept among our brothers and sisters, Harvest Institute. I don't have a slide on that, but it's really a training course meant for discipleship and evangelization is in the works. A group of very experienced brothers and sisters are at the forefront of this, especially from the academe, led by Dr. Jacob, Beth Melchor, and Raul Roncal, to name a few. Assisting them will be Randy Feria, Bobby Kitain, Nini Casas, and Jeff Lansangan, who represents our foundation. The intent is really, again, serve the wider church and provide a venue for training in discipleship and evangelization. In the subject of mass media and social media, how do we maximize the potential of One Touch Productions, a gift that has been given to us earlier already, especially in this age of modern day technology and instant communication? What messages do we want to bring outside to the church and to the families and to the youth as our way of stemming the tide of evil or even defending the gospel? Ali Leong and I and June met with Bishop Abilio recently, chairman for Episcopal Commission on the Laity. Aside from trying to get to know Ligaya, or the leadership in Ligaya, his main encouragement to us was really to participate in the new platforms of evangelization, be it Twitter, Facebook, and he says if secular society, that is, has a lot of airtime for their own agenda, why can't we Christians aggressively push our own? So sa isang oras po namin siyang kausap, siguro 80% of that, he was really encouraging us and pushing us to participate in these platforms. He wants, he's encouraging, members of LICO to really be active on this. On the subject of the defense of the gospel, obviously there's a lot more we can do with our partners in mission brethren in BCBP Couples for Christ and Familia, in making a collective stand on Christian morality and strengthening the Christian family, similar to what was done in the mid-80s with Families for Peace and Justice. Right around the corner are the many threats to the sanctity of life and marriage. You're all very aware of this in the news, the Congress proposal for the restoration of the death penalty, the lowering of age for criminal liability for children, distribution of condoms among public schools, same-sex marriage being promoted, and the list goes on. At hindi ko pa po nababanggit dito kung ano ang pwede natin gawin sa drug rehab program, an area na hindi natin expertise. We mentioned that, pero we want to help as much as we could. And we've done more of moral and financial and pastoral help in the places in Caloocan, in San Juan, and Cebu. And again, we do this through June and the connections that he has. Given this mission opportunities that we're seeing, what is the Lord telling us? And I was struck listening to the prophetic words we heard today, and this is really a continuation of what I have here. I decided to select only 3 prophetic summaries we heard in 2016. There's a lot more that actually confirms the words that we've been hearing. In a North Sector 2 sectoral assembly early February, the Lord spoke, "I am asking of you to surrender all the things that I have given to you. Be aware of all the gifts that I have given to you individually, and surrender all these gifts to me. Surrender all these gifts to community, to your leaders who will discern with you where to use them." In last year's community conference, there's a word that says, "For those of you who are still holding back, I know that you want to surrender yourselves to me, but I can sense that most of you are still holding back with conditions. Take away these conditions so I can work in your life. Open your hearts so that I can widen your reach and fulfill the mission that I will give you," says the Lord. And in last year's Feast of the Covenant, from Isaiah 54, "Enlarge the space of your tent and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Do not spare." Other translation says, "Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes, for you shall expand to the right and to the left, and your descendants will inherit the nations and make the desolate cities inhabited." I have been to 2 district gatherings at the start of the year, and in both districts, one in the south and one in the north, both of them pegged their plans around this passage in Isaiah 54, and it's just, encouraging to affirm that. But the prophecy spoken in the Feast of the Covenant continues, "Humayo kayo aking ligaya. Ang bawat isa sa inyo, bawat mag-asawa, bawat pamilya ay aking inaatasang sumunod sa akin. Inyong Panginoon na humayo, tumayo, sumulong para sa akin. Dala-dala ang aking pag-ibig sa bawat sulok ng mundo. Humayo kayo aking ligaya." So if you count these, brothers and sisters, and all the others we've heard today, including the prophecy in the 40th anniversary when Tony Venezuela sent his word to us, celebrate not what has inspired inside Ligaya, but celebrate what the Lord has done through you and with you outside Ligaya. And the call to expand our reach and territories, it is obvious that the Lord is consistently calling us to do more for Him and beyond what we are doing today. Let me share with you 4 reflections on this mission greater than us. First, it's very clear that the walls are being expanded in all forms and shape, be it our membership, our leadership resource, our outreaches, our sphere of influence, territories or demographics we have not ventured on, or individuals that we have called on. The needs can be overwhelming, like what Jesus encountered when he saw the crowd like a sheep without a shepherd. But the Lord seems to be saying, make room in your hearts, make room in your homes, in your community, in your service. The Lord wants us to make room. And He's even changing the agenda of the community in terms of where we ought to be going. Categories where we used to say, hindi natin ginagawa yan, hindi tayo nagpa-participate dyan. The Lord is changing some of those things for us. And yet we also know that we are a part not the whole. God is all about a bigger mission. We are privileged to participate in His grand plan and action, the full picture of which we do not know yet. And let me quote a part of the Bulwark Prophecy spoken in July 1975 in an international meeting. And this is just a portion of it. I tell you, you are a part and you are not the whole. You are a part and you are not the whole. There are many things that I am doing in this world today. There are many other ways that I am at work to raise up my people in strength and in glory. Thirdly, we have to be faithful to the role given to us, considering our call, our charisms, our resources. The same prophetic message continued. You are a part and not the whole. I want you to take your part seriously and to lay down your lives for it. But I want you to understand that only I see the entire plan. Only I see every front of this battle. Brothers and sisters, what will fuel our ability to do more is our faithfulness to our present mission. Last reflection, our future is at stake. Implications of what we are doing is not just about this present time and generation. The same way decisions and actions of our founding leaders in the Sword of the Spirit and in Ligaya had an impact in our way of life today. I think Chito mentioned that when he when he talked about Steve Clark. Now, whose decisions, whose actions had an impact, to the next generation. Decisions made by our founding leaders, our founding members, the first 40 members of our community. Two thoughts here. First, we ought to prepare for the long haul. A lot of the fruits of our work will take a while to build and may not be fully completed in our time. And yet we are called to build. It will probably be our next set of leaders and generations that will reap them. Second, our individual and corporate response today to mission, our action or inaction, our resolve or indifference will have a bearing on the future of the next generation, impacting our children and our children's children. Don't get me wrong, brothers and sisters, we are not playing heroes here. God can fulfill His plans with or without us. The question is, are we going to allow ourselves to be part of that plan? Part of His grand rescue mission of saving lives? Or are we just going to be watching from the sidelines? Yes, one's heroic action can have consequences for an entire generation. At this point, I'd like to show a short movie clip on a movie, an old movie entitled Schindler's List. The older ones among us do remember this. It's based on a true-to-life story of a German industrialist businessman, Oskar Schindler, who used Jewish labor to start a factory in occupied Poland. As World War II progresses, the fate of the Jews become more and more clear, that they're going to be killed. Schindler's motivation switched from profit to human sympathy and compassion, and he is able to save over 1,100 Jews from death in the gas chambers. This is the ending scene where he is saying goodbye to his workers, whom he has hired and has saved from the hands of the Germans. This movie was shown in the early 90s, many of you not born yet, and garnered a lot of Academy Awards, including Best Picture for that year. Let's take a look at it.
Hebrew from the top. Such as I could have gotten Alaska. There are 1,100 people who are alive because of you. Look at them. If I made more money, I threw away so much money. You have no idea. If I just will be generations because of what you did. I didn't do enough. You did so much. This car. God would have bought this car. Why did I keep the car? 10 people right there. 10 people. 10 more people. This plane. 2 people. This is gold. 2 more people. You would have given me 2 for it. At least 1. You would have given me 1. 1 more. 1 more person. For this. I could have got 1 more person. And I did. And I did.
In the closing credits of the film, they showed the descendants who lived out of the 1,100 who were saved. And it's believed that there are around 7,000 Jews who are alive today because of this noble and heroic act. Oskar Schindler took risks, went beyond what is safe and expected of him. In the end, out of reflection, he still felt that he could have given more and could have done more. So what is this call to sacrifice and courage? We come across the word sacrifice many times in scriptures, in our prayers, and sacrifice has always been related to what is sacred, what is holy. And that's why we see in scriptures a pleasing and a holy offering of our time, our talents, our gifts, our treasure. And in scriptures, if you think of sacrifice, the most vivid that comes to my mind is the story of Abraham and Isaac. You know very well the details that surround that. It's a difficult story from a human point of view because this is one story where God seemed to have contradicted himself. I say that because on the one hand, God promised Abraham to be the father of all nations. And from you will descendants come, as numerous as the stars of the heaven and the sands of the sea. But years later, after giving them Isaac, God calls him to offer Isaac to him. So it seemed like a contradiction. And yet we know that that Abraham obeyed and trusted God and made the sacrifice until the angel of the Lord, until God intervened and told him no. Brothers and sisters, to sacrifice is to obey and to trust, even if it seems unreasonable, even if it doesn't seem to make sense. Why? Because many times God does not lay out to us the total picture. His canvas is all of space and time. He cannot lay out to us all his plans. He communicates to us only what we need to know today. His ways will always be strange to us. As Isaiah says, as the heavens are high above the earth, so are my ways higher than yours and my thoughts than your thoughts. We can obey and we can make the sacrifice because we know that what he has in mind is always the best and has proven himself faithful. And I couldn't help but think of many individuals I know, many of you here, who've made that sacrifice in your career, in your state in life, in your businesses. God asking you to do something different, radical, to obey Him, to trust Him, and yet you acted. You believed God and trusted Him. And many of my brothers and sisters in CYA who decide to set aside some years of their lives to serve. I heard from Toby, and many of them are being blessed with good careers now, being blessed with good family lives. And again, all it required was to trust and to obey. Courage. Courage also means fortitude, endurance, strength, perseverance. Courage is related to the heart. Has to do with the inner strength of the heart, trusting that God will be faithful to His promises. And therefore, I will not give in to fear and intimidation. The best person I can think of is David when he faced Goliath. And because God told him that He will deliver the Philistine into his hands, he was confident to be courageous. One who's determined to continue what he thinks God is asking him to do because it is God who is asking. Despite fear, despite intimidation. And the way we conquer fear and intimidation is faith. Faith in our bigger God and petition for strength, for grace, to endure and to overcome and to deal with various situations. Brothers and sisters, we can all be courageous, whether we're big or small, muscular or not. It's more than just bravery. And our Lord Jesus is our example in this. But there's another angle of courage that the Lord is saying to us, that is the strength and ability to go further than where we are, to go into the deep. Luke 5, 4-6 says, "And when He had ceased speaking, He said to Simon, 'Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch.' And Simon answered, 'Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. But at your word I will let down the nets.' And when they had done this, they enclosed a great shoal of fish." Saint John Paul II loves to preach on this passage. He says, "Duc in altum," head into the deep, go out into the deep. And again, we know the story. Peter was done for the night. He was done fishing and he was really packing up. And yet Jesus goes into his boat and calls him to go out into the deep. And the question is, will Peter cooperate? And that boat represented everything in his life. His past, his present, his future. It represented his career, his livelihood. It represented what he can bring to his family. And many times, as Bishop Robert Byron would say, that is really an invasion of grace. When Jesus moves into your boat, are you going to cooperate? What is in front of you is an invasion of grace, God coming to you, but are you going to obey and cooperate? And thank God, Simon answered, "I will let down the nets." Because he's been operating on the shallows, following his own intuition, his own wisdom. And when the Lord Jesus gets into your boat, He will always lead you from the shallows into the depths. So the question to us, brothers and sisters, as a community and as individuals, where are the deep portions we are afraid to go? Where are we playing too safe? Where is our comfort zone? We heard something along that line in the prophecy earlier. Is it our service? Are we too invested in our career, in our family? Is God calling us to do a gap year? Or many times the children want to do a gap year, but the parents don't want a gap year. They want you to go ahead and build on your career. I think it's important for us to really ask the Lord what He wants us to do with our lives, our time, our talent, our money, our family. So let's not accept spiritual mediocrity. Let's go into the deep. Sacrifice and courage are important traits required for men and women who are at war. And we know this from the founding prophecies of the sword of the Spirit, that we are a nation at war. Let me quote a portion of that prophecy. "Train your people for war and battle, for hardship and difficulty. Prepare them for what will inevitably overtake them in the days ahead. As soon as they are able to hear it, tell them of the days to which they will have to live. As soon as they're able to bear it, put them under a burden of service. As soon as they have been trained for it, give them a place in the combat. As soon as they can receive it, teach them that their possessions are mine, and see, they are placed at my service. Their possessions are mine, and see that they are placed in my service. At this point, I want to segue a bit to a subject that is normally covered separately in a community conference. Normally, we ask our community treasurer to present to us the financial standing of the past year and coming year as it relates to budgets, expenses, and our main source of operations, our tithes. The OLC has decided to incorporate this in this talk as it is mainly a key expression of our life together and has a bearing on our ability to move forward to do further mission. So this is not a major presentation on financials, but as usual, any of you are free and welcome to the center to take a look at our books, our records, with the help of either your district coordinator or our executive director, Jeff Lansangan, and our financial team. But again, let me establish quickly some principles as far as financials are concerned. We know that as his disciples, we have given our lives to Jesus, to the Lord. Therefore, he owns our time and money, and we are simply his stewards. And as stewards, we have various financial responsibilities according to our vocation as married men, married women, single man, single woman, students. Christian discipleship in the area of finances is to take responsibility in our life and mission through financial giving. And financial giving is expressed through our tithes, alms, outreach contributions, and other kind of offerings. What I want to do is to briefly summarize our tithes and expenses and communicate a key pastoral concern. I was given 10 slides, I decided to just use 3. And let me go through this quickly. As you can see in this slide, we have been blessed with your generosity over the years. Tithes in 2016 grew by 7% over 2015, and we are projecting another single-digit increase of around 8% for 2017. Pay attention though to the average increase over the last 5 years. It has been reduced from 14.4% to 11.3%. A changing demographics of our membership profile is one of the reasons for this, given that we have been recruiting much younger people who are either still studying or just getting started in their careers. Last year alone, 87 out of the 212 new underway members are university students. While we are teaching them to give a token of what they could, we're committed to care for them as they go through formation. The next slide shows you an equally accelerating trend of expenses. Given our increasing numbers, expansion of new sectors or districts, and the need to increase our mission efforts. Note that 10% of our tithes are automatically earmarked as our contribution to the Asian region. So 2017, we are committed to budget around 6.5 million for these efforts if we hit our tithe projections. Another thing to note is the spike in 2015 was mainly attributed to all the special activities and events we had all year round when we celebrated our 40th year. Obviously, there's a need to manage effectively our spending versus our tithe collections, as we do not want to operate on a deficit spending. Something which has not happened yet, thanks to the effective management of our finance team and the cooperation of both leaders and members of the community. So thank you na hindi kayo nagreklamo kung hindi binibigay lahat ng hinihingi nyo. No? But most of the time we do. No? But if we are about doing more, brothers and sisters, as we have been hearing from the Lord, if we want to respond to the new mission expressions, if we are to build more communities, establish more and more strength and strengthen our outreaches, if we want to provide better training, leadership training, if we want to serve the wider church, we will need more financial resources. Which brings me to the last and yet important slide. Ligaya, we have a problem, not just a concern. Our analysis shows that more than 1/4 of our members have not been tithing at all. And if you use frequency as a measurement and use 6 times a year and above as your benchmark, practically almost 59% of us are not able to do that. Obviously, some of our members do not have a regular income and probably are not in a position to do so. And we're not even talking about amounts and percentages here of what is being tithed. Brothers and sisters, I do not hesitate to talk to you about this, since this is a family matter. This is a pastoral concern for us in the leadership, and it ought to be a concern as members. We have all committed to take responsibility for our life and support the work of the Lord together. And so I have asked the sector coordinators, the district coordinators, to include this in all their discussions with their pastoral leaders and find ways of working with all of us to be faithful in this expression. I am reminded of a recent thing that happened lately. I think it happened to a brother who got separated from his job, got redundated, and for a while he didn't have employment, and of course he received a certain sum, and I heard that he donated and he gave as a tithe a large portion of what he got. That brother, that couple could have just kept that and said, let's save this for a rainy day. I don't have a job now. Today he has a job already. But I thought that was really an act of faith, an act of sacrifice, and an act of, really trusting the Lord. Brothers and sisters, this is a family matter, and I hope that all of us will really pay attention to it. Pastoral leaders, please have that discussion in your one-to-one with your members. We do want to improve this when we talk about this again next year. Amen? 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 Amen. Now, I have a problem. How do I get back to my talk? At this point, I'm about to close, and again, I was inspired by a short film clip again that, preparing for this talk, I decided to watch a lot of war movies, and I don't know why. Saving Private Ryan, all of this, looking for inspiration. But came across this film that's already been shown in the US and in other parts of the world, but has not been shown here yet. So let's watch this short clip, and I'm going to end with this, some reflections here. Sorry, let me say a couple of comments. Sorry, Noel. My son is operating my slides, so just an introduction to this film. It's a film about one of the great heroes in American history who never fired a bullet. World War II American Army Desmond T. Doss, who served as a medic during the Battle of Okinawa, refuses to kill people, but would rather save the hurt and the wounded. He became the first man in American history to win the Medal of Honor without firing a shot. And it's believed that he probably have saved around 75 to 100 lives doing his role in the war in Okinawa. So let's watch the film. get one more. More sacrifice and courage for a mission that is greater than us. The mission could indeed be overwhelming, could be daunting. And like Desmond Doss, we ask, what do you want, Lord? What do you want from me, Lord? He could have actually left already. He has already saved a couple of lives prior to that explosion. He was done with the basic expectations. But 2 points struck me here in the scene. First, it takes a compassionate heart to make that kind of response that Desmond did. It takes taking on the heart of God to go beyond what the call of duty requires and risk one's life. His love for men and faith in God provided him the courage to move into the danger zone. Second, when we ask the Lord what He wants us to do, like Desmond, we say, we can't, Lord, I don't understand. I can't hear you. Many times the answers will not come directly from Him, but would come from the obvious, the voices around us, from the surrounding situations that we see. All he needed to hear were the cries of the fallen comrades to know what the right response would be. And so like Desmond, may we utter the same prayer, Lord, help me get one more. I close with a quote from a familiar word, a word that's spoken to us, that's spoken to me, and continues to challenge us as we try to cooperate with God's plan and as we desire to do more. I tell you that I cannot do with you what I intend to do with you until you have given me more than you have yet given. I tell you that I cannot accomplish what I intend to accomplish through you until you abandon more than you have yet abandoned. And so when I come to require it at your hands, prepare yourselves to offer it to me willingly. Train yourselves to give yourselves to me fully, so that when I require it of you, I might find from you a free and willing sacrifice, says the Lord. In the end, what He requires are not necessarily numbers, programs, nor activities. What He requires from us is a free and willing sacrifice of ourselves, so that He can accomplish and do with us what He pleases. May God give us the grace to make this offering. Amen.
Brothers and sisters, instead of immediately proceeding to the break, I sense the Lord would like us to take some time to reflect on what we have heard. We have heard so much, very rich words, but I think the Lord is speaking to us right now individually. I've requested the technical team to flash the slide a while ago which shows the boat. It says dock in Antum. It's about casting our net. And we'd like to take some moment to just reflect personally, asking the Lord, Lord, where do you want me to cast my net? Lord, where do you want me to move further, to move forward in my life, in my service, in my situation? Let's just take some time to reflect, brothers and sisters.